I'm going to go ahead and get my screen share thing set up here, and then hopefully I'm going to be sharing the right screen. Uh, and then you guys will just tell me if you can see a screen that has Goal Your Way to a Million on it. Does it? Yay. All right, good. Then we're in good news. How about let's just make sure I can get everything kind of switched up this way. Good. So um, just a little background on this stuff. You know, some of you guys I know really well. Some of you guys I don't know at all yet, but I look forward to meeting you when things go back to normal. My name's Josh Stern. I run the Stern team at Keller Williams. I'm a founding member of the Keller Williams Sugar House office, which is a huge privilege. It's like the coolest office on the planet. I am biased, but it's still the coolest because I've been to so many Keller Williams offices throughout the United States and two different countries as well. And I just think that we have it made where we're at, which is cool. The team will do about 340 transactions this year, which is neat. They're doing a great job. Most of it at this point they do without my daily input, which is fun. I just sold my first house in 3 years, and Annie Trujillo was on the other side of that. So sorry about the rust, Annie. Um, anyway, one of the things that I started implementing about 14 years ago was what a thing called a 13531. I learned about it at a family reunion. The 13531 was essentially a one-page business plan. So you could write down kind of your plan of how you were going to get to wherever you were going to get to, and it would all fit on one page. In this case, it was front side, back side. About 5 years later, that turned into what's called a 135. And about 5 years after that, it turned into what's called a GPS. We're going to go through that today, but we're also going to go through the document of how we, once we kind of know what our goals are, and I'm going to give you some actual examples of how we can actually take those goals and break it down or unpack it into sort of bite-sized pieces that we can then begin to fill our calendar with. And so hopefully we can get through this in an hour. I think we can, and you guys are welcome to interrupt me and ask questions. Just so you know, I've got a few different screens up, so I don't have a chat box sitting in front of me. So if you have a question, best thing to do is just unmute yourself and interrupt me, and that's all good. You can see on the first screen here, we talk about the 80-20 rule. I think most people inside of Keller Williams knows about the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule essentially asserts that 80% of the results will come from 20% of our efforts. It's as simple as that. So, I mean, if you look in real estate, 80% of the homes that are sold are sold by 20% of the agents. Obviously, your goal is to get to be into that 20%, and then, you know, hopefully in the top, 5% or so. I know we've got a couple of people on the call, Rachel and Annie and Nick, who are all right up there in terms of their production levels, which I think is really cool. So it just means that we've got to get focused on the things that matter most to us. Understanding the 80-20 rule means that we have to become disciplined in what it is that we do. Because in real estate, as you guys know, it is chaos. Every day is chaos. It's like constantly putting out fires. It feels like you're wondering, how the hell am I going to ever get to where I want to be? Because if I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it still wouldn't be enough time to get to where it is that I want to. And the reality is that's because we spend a lot of our time focusing on things that are urgent, cleverly disguised as important. And so what I'm kind of hoping today is that we can get through a process where we can focus on the things that actually in our business and just stay disciplined on those things. So most of you guys, I'm guessing, are familiar with the book, The One Thing. Yeah. I don't know that everybody's read the book, The One Thing. This came along well after I was already working on the 13531 and then the 411s. The One Thing is a book that really does a fantastic job of tying it all together. In this illustration, you can see that they're talking about focusing on just the first domino. You knock the first domino down, and I don't know if that is on your screen or not, but I'll move that. Oops, sorry. You'd think I'd know how to Zoom by now. I'm still feeling like a Zoom rookie. and I've spent a lot of hours on it. I'm sure you guys have too. Anyway, I'm going to move to this. I don't know if you guys have seen the story of strings, because this sort of illustrates how us realtors like to do business accidentally, not purposefully. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to share this. And I know that there's some sort of secret about being able to share the audio as well. Does anybody know that right off the top of their head? Like when I'm playing a video, how to share the audio?
Yeah, if you go to share screen advanced, and then you can pick audio.
Share screen, computer sound, boom, there you go. Thank you very much for the tech support. I appreciate it. That should do. So I'm going to play this really quick because I think it really illustrates what we're talking about here. Is it coming through? No sound.
It's really faint. Maybe turn up your volume.
Okay. Okay. I've got like 6 volume controls here. So let's see which one it is. Hold on a second. If I can't, I'm just going to pass it because I don't have a lot of patience for figuring this stuff out. Oh. Sound. Nope, I'm up all the way. All right, I'm going to skip that because I don't want to play around with the touch. So this is something I would. It's a minute and a half or so video. It's a really good video that's narrated by Gary Keller. You can find it on KW Connect. It's called The Story of Strings. It's a short video. I highly recommend checking it out. Let's go into kind of understanding from a realtor standpoint what our 20% is. Obviously, there are only, well, not obviously, maybe you guys don't even know this, but there are only really five things that a real estate agent can do that generates income. And those 5 things are on the top left-hand side of that screen. It is first, role play, scripts. You guys have to know scripts. I know everybody probably hates scripts, but when you listen to the Stern team, you know, if we're on a call, you can tell that we're very scripted in what it is that we do. We practice scripts every morning at 8:30 a.m. and we have for as long as I've ran this team, other than Tuesday mornings. And so right now with you know, the social distancing thing, everybody on our team has an accountability partner, and those accountability partners switch every 30 days. And so we're that disciplined about scripts. You guys, scripts are going to be the #1 thing that causes you to know what to say and how to say it. But more than anything, it causes you to be proactive and act as the hero and guide your clients to exactly what it is that they want. Without those scripts, you won't know what to say. If you don't know what to say, 2 things are going to happen. A, you're probably not going to make a phone call. And B, you're probably not going to be able to convert an opportunity to an appointment very effectively. And so I'm sure, Annie, have you worked on scripts? Yeah.
No, those anti people. But ironically, I got a few. I'm doing a commercial thing right now, and I got a few lines from Dave yesterday. And I was in my car repeating the lines that he had said because I didn't have a notebook. And I was like, damn it, I'm basically working on scripts right now.
Yeah, good job. Right on. Right on. So we memorize our scripts, not everything, but the scripts that matter the most, we memorize them, internalize them, so then we can personalize them. Obviously, lead generation is going to be a huge thing that's in your 20% wheelhouse. It's one of the things that generates cash, and lead follow-up is also super important. Yes?
Gosh, sorry, I should know this. Did you create the scripts from your voice, or are these all kind of like cemented Keller Williams scripts that you've used for your team?
So we have 5 different MOFRs that we use for a buyer side. MOFR was taught to me by Keller Williams as make offer for immediate response. The 5 MOFRs that we use on our team are created by me. A lot of the scripts that we use are created by Keller Williams International. If you go to KW Connect and you type in MREA space scripts, you'll come to scripts catalogs for sellers, for buyers, and for SOI. They're very thick. You can print them off and put them in a binder. So if you're not 100% sure where to get the scripts, that's a good place to start. Lead follow-up. Coach Dave, 87% of all sales occur during what activity?
Lead follow-up.
Lead follow-up, right? And here's
Was it Tony DeCello? You make money in lead generation, you make a fortune in lead follow-up.
yeah, it's huge, man. And a lot of us, we unintentionally drop the ball on lead follow-up. So what's your system, for instance? What do you have? Well, you're out in an open house and you meet somebody there, you get permission to stay in touch. What's your system for staying in touch? Because most people who are either online and a lot of times coming through open houses, they're going to be 9 to 12 months out from doing anything. So what's your lead follow-up system? We'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. The fourth money generating activity for real estate agents are appointments. And then the fifth will be negotiating contracts. So that's either listing agreements, buyer agreements, real estate purchase contracts, addenda, et cetera, to get you to the closing table. That's it, guys. Those are the only 5. So that's your 20%. I want you to remember that. And in our world, we like to spend 80% of our time on our 20%. So write that down. Spend 80% of your time on your 20%. Okay. If you're a business owner running a team or you're in the process, of building a team, I know Annie's probably getting close to bringing on her first hire. I bet Rachel's probably fairly close to doing the same thing. And so if you look as a business owner, there are 5 basically money-making activities that a business owner engages in. That's recruiting, selecting, training, leading, and motivating. So through all of this in detail because I really want to get to the goal side of it, but I just wanted, it's been up on the screen long enough. So hopefully you guys have read some of the other people there or some of the other things there. So let's talk about the GPS. This is a goal priority strategy. And we're going to actually, I've got one of these pre-filled that's, I would say, very realistic. But a GPS is essentially that one-page business plan that you guys can use to help you get to where it is that you want to go. Most of us have ideas. Very few of us, unfortunately, execute. Ideas are rewarded. Execution is worshipped. The number one reason that people fail to achieve their own goals is they lack a clear plan to get there. And so the GPS is basically your one-page business plan. Now, for people like Annie, for instance, as your business grows, Rachel, Nick, people that have been in the business for a period of time, if I'm missing somebody there, I apologize. But you guys may be operating on more than one GPS. So I'll give you an example for that. We always want to start, if you've never done one of these forms, with just a very simple transactional or financial GPS. So your transaction goal might be 34 closed units in a year, or it might be, $300,000, something like that. But as your business begins to grow, then basically you start creating a GPS that would be for the listing side. You have a GPS for the buyer side. You have the GPS for your admin side, which includes, all your systems for transaction coordinating, your systems for marketing, et cetera. So what I want you to realize is that as your business begins to grow, more often than not, you're going to be operating off of more than one GPS. If we look at this particular GPS, it's blank, but at the top, you would write in what your primary goal is or your primary objective. And then down below that, you have your first priority that's going to help you hit that goal, the very first priority. And by the way, that first priority is going to be more important than priority number 2 or priority number 3. So your priorities are always going to be put in order of priority. So Jeff Woods, who runs the One Thing podcast, tells the story of when he met with Gary Keller for the first time and he brought in his GPS. He brought it in a paper form, which Gary requires. I've had to do the same thing with Gary. And Gary asked Jeff if priority number 1 was the most important priority. And Jeff's like, absolutely, it's the most important priority. And so Gary cut priority number 1 off of the GPS paper and handed it to him and said, when you finish that, you've earned the right to come back to me and ask me for your priority number 2 and 3, which is kind of funny because that was his only copy of it. That's a true story. So priorities have to be done in order of priority. Priority 2 doesn't matter at all until priority number 1 is taken care of. Underneath each priority, you're going to have 5 strategies. Now, a lot of people don't realize that these documents can be flexible. So sometimes I might have 4 strategies or 3 strategies that help me to achieve a priority, that help me to get closer to my goal. And sometimes I might have up to 7 strategies that are going to help me achieve the priority that helps to get to that goal. The other thing to realize is I might only have 2 priorities that will help me to obtain the goal or the primary objective, but I might have 4 priorities. And so what I want you to realize is these documents can be flexible based upon what your needs are. The most important thing is that you start using them, start somewhere, because not starting means you, or starting doesn't necessarily mean you finish. This is stuff that I've been doing for 14 years, you guys. I want you to think for just a second. 3.5 years ago, I'd made a decision to hit the road for a year. I was going to take off an entire year camp from, Baja, Mexico up to the Arctic Ocean with my wife. At the same time, I was coaching literally some of the top teams in the world through Keller Williams International. At the same time, I was running a brewery. At the same time, I was running my own team. At the same time, I'm running my own property management company. And so how in God's name could you possibly keep all of that together without having, 1-page plans for what you're going to be focused on? You can't. And that's the challenge that people have, especially in real estate, which is why so few people unfortunately make it, is they don't really have a plan. So they focus on whatever the next shiny object is, and they'll execute on that for a couple, 3 months, and then they move on to the next shiny object and execute on that for a few months. And then after about a year or 2 or 3, maybe 4, they end up out of the business. And so that's not what we want to have happen with you guys. So this is kind of a blank look of what a 135 looks like. Now,
Sorry, Josh.
Josh.
You want us to just interject if we have a question then?
yes, that's exactly what I want.
Okay, so for all those things you rattled off, the brewery and real estate and your
Mhm.
investments, all those things, you had a 135 for every single one of those, like for the brewery and for everything.
Yeah, and some of them I had more than one GPS, including.
So a 145 or does that mean there's just more priorities for that one? Is that what you mean?
No,
Oh.
it just means I might have multiple 1-page plans.
Oh,
So-
because there's maybe a buyer side, a seller side, and admin side, like you said before. For
You got
each of the businesses, got it. Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Actually, and tomorrow we're doing our GPS and 411 planning with the brewery in our office. And so we'll be doing, all new planning session with these guys. And so we're constantly focused on, creating these plans. While I was doing all of that, 14 months before I hit the road, I decided I was going to hit the road. Well, leaving town for a year, it needed its own GPS. Like, my God, what does the truck need? What does the camper need? What's the gear? Like, where are we going to go? What's going to happen to our mail? What's going to happen to our house? So all of that had to be planned as well, because otherwise, it'd be crazy, right? I mean, hopefully everything would work out, and that's not always the case. Most often it isn't. So I put up on the screen an example of a GPS that would work very, very well for a single agent. So this is not entirely fictitious. This is kind of pretty well thought out in terms of a single agent. If you were looking to do 34 transactions, or your GCI goal was 295,000, your priority number 1 would be, well, look, my best business comes from what source? What is the best source of business?
Here.
Right. People that already know you, like you, and trust you. Annie, this is what you've dominated in the real estate world, right? Is your SOI, and they've referred everybody else to you, right? So you've got a really good system for this, but let's talk about that. So if we wanted 60% of our business to come from the sphere of influence, or 22 transactions in this case, probably the very first thing that I would do would be to create and implement an 8x8 and a 36 touch. For those of you guys who don't know what an 8x8 is, an 8x8 is 8 touches in 8 weeks. So when I've moved somebody from a have not met to a have met. So let's say I'm on a phone handling a sign call or an internet lead or something like that. These guys aren't ready to do anything, today, which is okay. But I get their name, address, phone number, email, right? And I get permission to stay in touch. I'm going to put them on an 8x8 drip. So they're going to get 8 touches with me in 8 weeks. That's done to cement the relationship so that when they think of real estate, they think of me, right? Or in this case, you guys. The 36 touch is after they've gone through an 8x8. And for that matter, every single person who is currently in your sphere of influence will receive at least 36 touches throughout the course of a year. Now, here's the thing, on the touch system, you can read pages 132 to 148 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent to go into a little bit more depth of what this looks like. But that was the single most important system that I had implemented as I was growing my business. It was number one. It was the thing that mattered most. And now you guys have this thing called KW Command, where you can put these smart plans in place, and they're like, and the smart plans are already made for you. You can go use other people's smart plans that are awesome, personalize it to yourself, and then boom, send them out. The whole point is if you don't have a stay in touch system, you know, for your people, then the likelihood that you're going to be doing business with those people is not very good. It just isn't. So the other part of this is you have to be making some sort of contacts daily. So you could do, in this strategy, five SOI contacts a day. Hey, Annie, you buy all your sphere of influence on any sort of systematic basis?
Sorry, you kind of broke up there. What was that?
Do you by chance call your sphere of influence on any sort of systematic basis?
I don't make phone calls. My SOI typically is my age or younger, and I feel like even my best friends don't really prefer phone calls. So I think it's safe to say that I have like no really systematic approach. But if I think of someone, like just now I was looking through Instagram,
Yep.
and an old client posted she was reading this book that I
Yep.
just listened to podcast to. And so I reached out to her. Like and I think that Rachel said that same thing. Like if I think about somebody, I reach out to them in that moment. I'll just send a text or drop by or whatever it is, but it's not
Yep.
very systematic.
Okay, got it. So the idea is that you want to try to create, you know, as you're growing a business, you have to be able to create systems that are scalable. And so, you know, as your database grows from 100 to 200 to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000, not being systematic with it simply won't work. There'll have to be some sort of systematic stay in touch, you know, for these guys. For us, it works pretty well because we have a 75 touch system on the Stern team. Many of those are emails. I do a blog. We have 12 client appreciation events a year, so it makes it easy for our agents to always be in touch with their sphere of influence, you know, for pie giveaways or private mortgage insurance removal webinars or tax appeal webinars, or we did COVID testing. Like whatever it is, it makes it easy for people to stay in touch. Bottom line is, if I were focused on building a business, I would focus on creating something scalable, and that would include a certain amount of touches to my SOI per day. Strategy number 3 would be kind of creating the other 29 touches through email, mail, or text. I send out one newsletter a month, and it's actually now just a half-page postcard. I don't do a whole lot of texting, although Anna, you mentioned that when you think of somebody, you do a text. That's great. And then I do email 4 times a month. So they get one email with me from me 4 times a month. And then the 4th strategy on that for you guys might be just think about 3 client appreciation events that you can do. Now, we've moved into a very different environment, but here's an example of one that went really well for us. It was a private mortgage insurance removal webinar. So you guys, we did this on Zoom. We blasted it out to our past clients in our sphere of influence. People that have owned their home for 3 years or more probably have 20% or more equity in their property, right? Because the properties have appreciated about 12% year over year, about 7% last year, about 6% the year before that. So just realize that people that have been in their house for about 3 years, they have the ability to remove private mortgage insurance. So we teamed up with our lender and simply just did like a how to remove your private mortgage insurance. We had a lot of people on there. We had a lot of people refinance, and we saved a lot of our clients money. It's a very simple, free event that you guys can do for your clients, right? So you could think of other things. In July, we do a tax appeal webinar. So we teach people how to dispute taxes. We run the comps forum. So we're successful every single year helping many, many dozens of people protest and save money on their taxes. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. So just think about some of the different events that you could plan out. That's the idea. Plan something out, put it in the calendar, put a reminder the month before that you're going to have the event so you can start preparing the materials for the event. Then the last would be adding 10 more people to your SOI weekly. Gary Keller says your business is your database. I believe that. I can count on my database to deliver to me a lot of transactions each and every year. So my focus is to grow that database. So what's your goal? Especially if you're newer in real estate, or hell, even if you've been in real estate a long time, what is your actual goal for growing that database, running them through that 8x8 and then keeping them on the 36 touch forever? The second priority, and that'd be the most important thing, right? So once I had kind of that stuff implemented in place in process, I would move to my second priority. The second priority is everybody's favorite. It's called prospecting. So I would assume that prospecting would generate about 20% of the transactions based upon those 34 transactions. That's 6 transactions. So what does that mean? So what that means for me is I would call 5 for sale by owners or expireds each day. I would actually create a for sale by owner. Here's a little bit of insight for you. Most for sale by owners will list their property on a Tuesday, 3 weeks after they put it on the market by themselves. So hopefully, if you guys are interested in calling for sale by owners, you just wrote down what I told you. And there's a good reason for that. I'm not going to go into the dialogue on it, but there's good develop skill. We're breaking up. Hold tight. Holding. Am I good now? Okay. I know when you guys all freeze, that means my internet's running slow. So stop freezing on me, okay? All right. And if you do freeze, try to like smile, because it's weird when you're frozen like this. You know, it's not pretty. Anyway, MAPS Coaching has group coaching modules on doing FSBOs and expireds. Jackie Kravitz has been hosting that MAPS Coaching. It's like $200 for 6 months of coaching, something like that. She does a phenomenal job if you're interested in it. And by the way, on my team, we're calling FSBOs and expireds every single day. And so we do take those listings. These are people that are going to list their properties. So having a system in place for that would be a very good idea. You can see the third strategy there is circle prospecting. Do you know what circle prospecting is? Some people don't. So circle prospecting is, let's say our office sold a property in a neighborhood that you wanted to do some business in. You might use a system like Mojo, or you might contact your title company and get a scrubbed phone number list of the people that live in that neighborhood around that property, where you might call up, you know, and say something like, hey, Rachel, this is Josh with Keller Williams Realty. I just wanted to let you know that we sold your neighbor's property down the street. It was 123 Chestnut Street. We ended up selling that property with multiple offers. As a result, I have some buyers right now that are interested in moving into your area. I'm just curious, who do you know who's thinking about making a move? Which of your neighbors have you maybe talked to that's thinking about making a move? Can't think of anybody. Well, great. Thanks for thinking about that. Listen, how long have you been there? What do you like most about the area? If you were to move, where would you go next? Where would that be? These are all scripts that you can get, by the way, on the MREA. I'm just saying.
I keep wanting to jump in here and role play with you. Geez, Josh, let me answer.
God, I have like 30 minutes left to get through like all of this material. So enough of you. The practicing scripts and dialogue, you can see strategy number 4. If you're going to make calls, practice your scripts and dialogue so you know what to say, right? Because if you don't know what to say, you're not going to say it. You'll never call. It's as simple as that. If you don't know what to say to your sphere of influence, you're not going to call them either. So you might want to think about what to say. And if you guys ever are like, God, I really would like to call my SOI and I'm just not sure what to say, hit me up, send me an email. I've got tons of different scripts that I use for my sphere of influence. And I've been using them for 15 years and I'm happy to share everything with you guys. Just let me know. I'm available. The other thought is, you know, teach a FSBO or an expired class, because the student becomes the master, or the teacher becomes the student becomes the master. And then finally, you have priority number 3, which would be open houses. Is anybody not doing open houses? besides Annie. I'm not calling on you anymore. Do you not do open houses?
I do
I've
them
had
on
a couple clients
Okay,
this
no-
year say they didn't want me to do open houses because of the pandemic, but so I've done the least amount of open houses throughout my entire career this year.
Have you?
It's been frustrating, but a lot of my clients just don't want me to do them.
So what we do, during the pandemic right now was we only allow 2 groups through the property, generally at one time. You've got a sign on the door that'll say, 2 groups at a time will come and get you when the next group leaves, that kind of a thing. That's the most important thing. We have, for all of our occupied properties, we have booties, gloves, masks, and sanitizer. And so we just ask that people wear their booties, put on gloves, no kids in the house, they can wait outside. So there are ways to do it. We're doing them every single weekend, and every single weekend, you guys, we're picking up business from open houses. We're adding to that have met database, but we're also getting now business from it every single weekend, which is why you see us on the Stern team doing them all the time, because they are effective and they work, and it's a great strategy. So here's the idea. Maybe you just do one a week. If you don't have one, somebody in the office will have one. If you want one of ours, that's great. You just have to shadow our leadership on an open house, so you learn how we do it, and then you can sign up to do some of our open houses, because we usually have more than we can do on our own. You knock 2 days prior to the open house, knock doors around the open house. We call it a 50 by 50. So go up the street, get them a personal invitation. Mr. and Mrs. Stapley wanted me to let you know about the open house that we're going to do on Saturday from 1 to 3 o'clock. Please feel free to come by, take a look at the property. And if you've got anybody that you know of who wants to be in the neighborhood, now's a good time to pick your neighbors. And so you do 50 houses above the house, 50 houses below the house. And usually that's going to lead to actually 10 contacts. Then you have to have an open house follow-up system. Again, we have a lot of people that fail on creating systems around follow-up. So you want to have some sort of system in place around following up with your open house leads. Finally, you'd want to make sure that you had an 8x8 or a 12 direct for your open house contacts, and practicing scripts in dialogues. So now let's move into the 411. Any questions on that? That's a good example. By the way, I am going to email the office all of this stuff, so you have these examples in place along with blank forms that you can use yourself. Okay, so that'll come up here shortly. Coach Dave?
One question I have for you, Josh. Are the strategies under each priority, are those also in order of priority?
You got it, buddy. The strategies are also in order of priority. Thank you very much for asking that question. That is true. Strategies are in order of priority. So now let's talk about the 411. Go ahead. One more question.
I have a quick, potentially stupid question. In your SOI priority, do you include are referrals a part of that? Like you said, I do get a lot of referrals. So should I have a separate referral priority, or is that part of the SOI?
Well, you could, but we have a separate referral strategy. So our client events are oriented around referrals. We have a strategy in place for when a referral comes, how we thank those that refer us. We just did all of our thankful videos. So all of our past clients this year, what we did is we grabbed our iPhone and we just, we changed the screen into a video, and we said something like this: "Hey, Annie, it was so great working with you this year. I really appreciate the opportunity to help you with the property sale on 123 Main Street. This time of year, I have more time to think about all of the things that I'm thankful and grateful for, Annie, and I'm grateful and thankful for you. So thanks so much for having the trust in using me." And then we send that out, right? And that always generates response. My mom delivers fudge. It always generates a referral, always, right? So we have a number of different strategies in place. But Annie, the question that you asked is really good. You may want to consider creating a strategy around asking for referrals, receiving referrals, getting referrals, and then rewarding the referrer, right? So good question. All right. So now that you've got a one-page business plan, what in the hell are you going to do with it? That's the problem, right? It just because you have a plan does not mean it's executed. That's where this document, the 411, comes in. So the 411 was a document that I started using 15 years ago, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. So Scott Agnew is the owner of the region of Utah's Keller Williams. Early on, when we opened up the first office, he saw something in me that he decided he liked, and he offered to coach me for free. which I was like, hell yeah, I want to coach for free. And he said the only caveat to this is I had to complete this thing called a 411 before every call. Otherwise, we didn't have a call. There were 2 calls we didn't have because I didn't complete it. So just so you know, he was a man who held me accountable to it. But the 411 is essentially what we're going to begin unpacking strategies into. So up at the top, you can see there are 4 different columns. There's job, business, personal, financial, and personal. So I want to do a little clarifying here for you quickly. First of all, what the difference between your job and your business, your job is to list homes. Your job is to prospect. Your job is to, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, think about those 5 money generating activities. That's your job. Your business is, well, I want to implement a 36 touch plan because I don't have it. That's working on your business. Working on your business, would be any sort of system that you guys would want to implement that would help you grow, your business so you had more of a job to do. So that's kind of the difference between job and business. That's confusing, and this explanation isn't going to help you out. It won't be until you start actually using this document that it'll start having clarity. And by the way, it took me about 18 months to really truly make sense of the difference between job and business. But ultimately, it's easy to say this. Everything I put in my business column, by putting it there and doing it, will make my job easier or give me more of a job to do. Then you have personal finance, and then you have personal. And so here's the deal. The line down the middle, separating the 2 columns, the line down the middle on the left side, you have the how. On the right side, you have the why. So I recommend that you have annual personal financial goals, such as, paying off debt, putting X amount of dollars into an emergency account. It could be buying a rental property, it could be buying your first home, but you should have some goals that are up there that are driving you into the how, because nobody wants to show up and prospect, each day for business without having a reason for doing it. Because once the bills are paid, there's got to be something more that's going to keep you in this game, until you can get over the hump. That's your personal financial. And then your personal would be, things like vacation time, or, I want to start going to the gym, or I saw Paul Montgomery, on here. And I know that he is a Savers guy, Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've read it. Terrific book. There are, Paul's got this beautiful morning routine that he developed from reading that book called The Savers. Those, some of those things might show up in your personal goals. Meditation might show up, weight loss, diet, going to the gym, etc. Those are all things that may show up in your personal goals. So now that that's been said, now let's imagine that GPS is sitting in front of you and you look at the strategy. So let me just go back really quick. So you've got, again, your priority, you've got your goal, you've got your priority, but you look at your strategy. That very first strategy that's on there, basically what we would want to do is take and place that strategy into our monthly goal. I call the monthly goal to the parking lot, because as you would notice, if I go back, that one strategy that's right there, maybe I want to get to work on that in January, create and implement the 8x8 and 36 touch system. Does that sound like a task, like just one task? No, it's not one task. It requires unpacking. So we put it into parking lot, and then we use the weekly column underneath that to begin to unpack that into activities. And I'm going to show you an example of a completed 411 based upon that GPS that I had already showed you. So again, we take the strategies, we put those strategies for whatever area that we're working in, whatever column that we're working in, we put the strategy in the monthly parking lot, and then that strategy begins to get unpacked into the weekly must-dos. And the weekly will ultimately get put into your calendar, hopefully before you show up to work on Monday. Because what happens when you start showing up to work on Monday? If you don't have any goals, you're not going to move your business forward. You're just going to put out fires. By the way, how many of you guys despise Mondays as much as I do? Go ahead. It's cool. Cool. All right. So we've got a couple of people there. I personally hated them. Here's why I hated them. Because I worked 7 days a week. I didn't take any time off, and I had all the offers coming in through the weekend, and I did all of my seller servicing on Mondays because they all wanted to know, how did the open house go? Did we get any offers? How many showings do we have? All of that stuff. So Monday would come and it would just be like, oh my God, I have so much to do. Now, if I didn't plan my week out based upon my GPS feeding my 411 and have those must-dos already in my calendar by the time I got to the office on Monday, I will get to the office on Monday and I will spend the entire day focusing on things that are urgent, cleverly disguised as important. Just so you know. So you don't really want to have any more than 7 must-dos in each column per week. And I think that's too much for you guys to start with. The 411 that I've created here, I think would be too much for you guys. I'll show you an example of what that 411 looks like, right? I think that that would be too much for you guys to do in a week. I just do. I mean, I've been coaching on this for years, and I've been coaching people that are operating, 3 or 4 times the level I am in my business. And I know that this is too much. So I'm demonstrating, I'm giving you an example. It's going to be up to you to realize what you guys are capable of. But let's say, in the job side, remember, I wanted some of my business to come from open houses. And so I went ahead and scheduled myself 1 open house a week. You can see that in the monthly goals under the job. And I also wanted to make sure that I was going to be, taking a FSBO or an expired based upon my GPS. So I, put on there, we'll take 1 this month. If that's the case, it requires unpacking. So each day I would need to practice scripts. Maybe I'd need to do some door knocking for my open houses. I'd have to do some follow-up from the open houses I already had. I would want to circle prospect around my open house, letting people know that the house would be held open. And then I would want to be making calls to my own SOI. I would schedule my open house. You can see it's kind of there. Contact 25 SOI, 100 people contact in circle prospecting, so on and so forth, all the way down the line. In the business, I wanted to create an open house system. I wanted to develop an 8x8 and 12 direct for my open houses. These are things I want to work on in the month of January, let's say. And I wanted to go to a Millionaire Agent Mindset series. All right, just the things that would help me get better at working on my business. You guys, I'm just curious because this class is going to go by so fast. I mean, hopefully you guys will feel free to follow up with me directly. And I'm going to send you a couple of video links of Jeff Woods talking about how to do a GPS and a 411. So you can do this on your own time, because each of those videos is about an hour long, and it's worth, the juice is worth the squeeze, guys. It is really, truly worth the squeeze. But how many of you guys are spending even 15 minutes a day utilizing the Keller Williams resources? How many of you guys are spending 15 minutes a day on KW Connect, watching videos, learning how to use KW Command? Good, excellent. I see a couple of you guys raising your hands. How many of you guys are going to the KW Connect Shift Pivot Ahead page, where everything is basically, categorized for you on things that you can do right now to change your business? Good, because how many of you guys have noticed the client communication kits that they put out every week on there? That has the social media, it has a text where you can text your people exactly what to text them, an email exactly what to email them, and then a script exactly what to say when you call them. Because if you guys are trying to make all of this 36 touch stuff up yourself, it's going to be a hell of a process. Trust me, because none of these resources were available when I started doing this, but now it's like all done for you. But if you're not spending at least 15 minutes a day when you wake up in the morning sipping coffee on KW Connect, especially right now, the Shift Pivot Ahead page, then you are missing out on a hell of a resource. Like, everything you guys need to know about your business right now and do right now today is right there. How many of you guys have attended any of the Pivot Power sessions that are on there? Good, because there is some kick-ass stuff on there. And by the way, most of this stuff that's being taught on there is being taught by the top agents in the world. You guys, literally, the top agents in the world are saying, here's what you need to do. Here's how to do it. Here's everything. They're an open book, and it's all available in a one-stop shop for you. So this is just a friendly reminder. Unless you're using Facebook or Instagram in the morning time as a business activity, maybe put that aside. Maybe put the news reel aside and just spend 15 or 20 minutes on KW Connect, just learning about what's there, because it'll blow your mind. Okay, so In the business column, you can see what I did is I unpacked actionable items based upon the monthly parking lot above that. You can see in personal financial, you know, I want to hire a CPA. How many of you guys have like an LLC or a sub S corp for your business? Okay, good. Most of you guys do. The ones that I can't see, or if you don't, that'd be a pretty good goal to have, because as you start making money, LLC, especially with the subchapter S election, is one of the best ways that you guys can save money on taxes. It's huge. And so you can see based upon that, well, look, maybe I need to find, you know, maybe I need to call it my CPA and find out who can help me do a LLC or a sub S with my LLC. And then maybe I just need to interview CPAs because I don't have any, you know? So either way, those are things that I would want to do this month. And then I would unpack that into that weekly parking lot. So maybe I might like hit up some of the top agents in our office and say like, hey, you know, who do you use for a CPA? You know, and just start interviewing them if you don't have them. Maybe I'd want to meet with some financial advisors and learn about self-employment plans, which are essentially a 401k that are tax deductible for you guys. So for every dollar you put in, the government's gonna make it so you only pay, you know, 70 cents on that dollar in taxes, right? So are you taking advantage of all of your pre-tax accounts? These are just good ideas. Read Simple Path to Wealth if you want to manage your own money. I've got that one on there, and that's no joke. Like if you just want to do this yourself, read Simple Path to Wealth. I
totally agree. Your mom put me onto it this year. It's been amazing.
Right on. Yeah, I mean it's a game changer. You know, before the book came out, I was reading J.L. Collins' blog. So here's my discipline. Every Saturday morning, I would open and close my books for my business. I would open and close my books for my household. That include getting educated on finance. And so I really got turned on to the author of that book's name is Jim Collins, but it's J.L. Collins NH for New Hampshire.com. And he's got a whole tax series, or not tax series, stock series that he wrote for his daughter, who's 21 years old. It since has become a book. The book's a little easier to read, but I was going through that stuff early on. And when I realized I could do this myself and I didn't need to pay my financial advisor to do it, I started doing it. And then I realized that my performance was, you know, like 7% better on average than my CPA or than my financial advisor's performance. And I was only paying 0.4% of my total portfolio in fees instead of 1.54% to my financial advisors. So getting educated became important to me, right? Learning how to do this myself. So this is all just stuff that's under personal financial, right? There's another one in there that, you know, done by, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, he's got the I Will Teach You to Be Rich blog, really good blog, but there's a particular video on there called automation, like how to automate your finances. Anyway, I don't want to go dig too deep into this stuff, but you can see I've just be putting up these goals. Like I just want some of these things to start influencing my life. And once I put them in a 411, after I put them in a 411, I'm going to load up my schedule with all of those important things, right? So then you can see personal, etc. Like, you know, 4 weeks off, lose 20 pounds. Oh, Paul, did you notice I've got Read Miracle Morning up at the top there, right on. Read 12 business books, which is great. And by the way, Gary Keller says, don't read books, just read 10 pages a day. If you just read 10 pages a day, you would read something on along the lines of 30 some odd books a year. So just read 10 pages a day. That's it. 10 pages a day. So then, you know, if I look down below that, I would, first of all, I want to schedule some time off this month in January. What days am I going to take off? We'll schedule it and then you'll take it off. Because if you don't schedule it, are you going to take it off, Annie? You didn't hear me call your name, did you?
Well, you're really kind of breaking up right now, to be honest.
Am I still breaking up? Yep, everybody's saying it. Sorry, my internet's slow. I'll move past this. So once you have a 411, the idea is that you want to start using your calendar to put those actionable items inside of the calendar. Now, not everything on your 411 can be calendared, but you want most things in your calendar. Am I still breaking up, or can you all hear me okay? Good. I forgot when I do these things from my house.
You're good now.
The internet sucks here. So here's an example of a completed calendar based upon the 411 that you just saw. Again, I'm going to send these examples out to you so you have it. But this is done for me. I do this every Sunday morning. So every Sunday morning, I break out my GPS. I make sure I have the right stuff in my monthly parking lot. And then I unpack those into must-do activities in my weekly. And as soon as I'm done with that, I go to my calendar and I plug them into my calendar. It's as simple as that. So that way, when I show up on to work on Monday, my whole week is scheduled. So if you look there, even on Sunday, it says Sunday the 21st, there's a reminder, do the 411. I don't actually need that reminder because I just do it. If something's a habit, you don't need to schedule it, trust me. Your calendar should also have plenty of white space in it, because the reality is you're going to have to do the other 80%. You know, you're going to have to put out the fires. You're going to have to, you know, deal with the chaos that all of your success brings to you. And by the way, success brings nothing but chaos. Have you noticed that, Rachel? Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Good problem to have, but it's a reality, right? And that's what causes growth. And then ultimately you begin to leverage and start getting some help when you become successful, because all you need is enough GPSs over a long enough period of time, executing those using the 411 and your calendar. And every single one of you guys can be doing, you know, you have no idea what's possible, you know, 3 years, 5 years of doing this with discipline, you know, you're going to get to where you want to get to. So yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to add, I know you're the expert here, but for the people who don't have that much business, it took me like years to drink the Kool-Aid. And so all of this seems really daunting. Whereas if you only have 50 people in your SOI and you're just starting, I'm like, do this now. If you think you're going to drink the Kool-Aid down the road, do it now. Cause now I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to organize. So
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that. Yeah, that's all the hindsight. I was lucky in that I didn't know any better. And so somebody just said, here's what you need to do to be successful. And I'm like, okay. And so I just kind of like did it, you know, and I didn't really have any judgment. And before I got into real estate, I was working as a personal chef. My first year in business, I did 27 transactions, but I did that in 6 months. In the 6 months I did the 27 transactions, I was a full-time personal chef, because that was over the winter months. And most of my clients own homes up in Deer Valley, Park City. So it was the most miserable 6 months of my life. Now, granted, I made a shitload of money, but it didn't really matter because I had zero life. And so something had to give. And I was thinking it would be real estate. Everybody's happy to see you as a personal chef. Everybody's happy to see you as a personal chef. So I almost gave up real estate. And in 2004, like literally after my first year in real estate, I was handed a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You guys have all seen this book. Not all of you have read it. I read it one time through from beginning to end. And for the first time in my life, somebody said, here is a plan. Just go and execute on this. And it'll work. And after that point, I just said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to execute on that. That's what I did. And I used the GPS and the 411 as tools to help me execute on that plan, because that book is more like a manual. You know, you can't implement it all in a year. You just can't, or 2, or 3, or 4, or maybe 5. So you have to have a plan in place to get through. And so I appreciate you saying that, Annie. For all of you guys right now, it'd be great if you could start executing on these plans and start putting these systems in place, as if you're going to be doing 100, 200, 300, 500 units. Start doing it now.
Piggyback on that, Josh. You had mentioned you stopped by my office like 2 years ago and said, "What's up, Rach? You should do 411s." And I was like, yeah, sure. And I blew it off and then didn't do it. And then sat down with your mom in January of this year, and she made me put down everything in 135s and 411s. And I had like 9 GPSs just for real estate. And it literally changed my entire business within the course of this year. So if anyone needs to, like, to drink the water and it needs a reason to, like, I promise you, you can start from nothing and build so much in just the course of a year if you follow these systems. I wish I'd done it sooner.
Yeah, you'll do a lot more than you think. I mean, you know, if you look at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the 4 major models, the first model that you guys really do want to work on in that book is your lead generation model. And you can read about that in all of 16 pages. It's page 132 to 148. Now, once you've read that, then you can put together a plan of building systems around that lead generation model. And you can use the GPS to help create that plan, and the 411 that helps you execute that plan on a monthly, weekly, and then the calendar helps you execute on a daily basis. You know, I had one of my coaching clients yesterday ask me, you know, when you have all, because this was a person that's having some like very, very real trauma happening in her life right now. And she's like, when that kind of stuff happens, I just want to let you know the fact that you have me create my schedule, and I hold them accountable to this. They have to send me their 411s every Sunday. They can't send it to me Monday. Each of them have their own accountability, you know, around that. But she said, I just want you to let you know, by having my schedule done each week, when all of the shit that I have to deal with happens, at least my schedule is complete with all the must-dos that get me to where it is that I want to go. And that's the beauty of having something like this. Even when you don't feel good, you're not having a good day or a good week, if you're just schedule your GPS to feed your 411 and then your 411 to feed your schedule, that will really take you a long way over time. Now, granted, this is a ton of information, and I think it's just overwhelming to try to cover this in an hour. And so I'm going to send a follow-up email. It's already prepared. I'm going to send a follow-up email to the front desk, and I'm going to have them blast it out. Please look for that. There are statements on the email itself with blank GPS, blank 411, but also filled out ones, and also instructions on how to fill out a GPS and instructions on how to fill out a 411. In addition to that, there are 2 video links that are in the email. These are videos that you can watch. Jeff Woods, who's a master at doing this now, he leads the One Thing podcast. Am I breaking up? You following? Okay. Jeff Woods, there'll be 2 links in there, one on him doing a GPS and then one on him doing a 411. So that way you can take this to the next level. On your own, you can watch these things. And then if you have questions, let me know. I've been coaching literally these things for many years, and I realize in 1 hour, it's almost impossible to retain what I've just talked about, especially without implementing. So any questions for the last couple of minutes or so? Any thoughts? Any ahas?
Can I just clarify one thing? Are you saying that the lead generation model should be the #1 model to go for? I mean, I'm super, super new. So is that
Yep.
main focus?
Yeah, that's absolutely the main focus. And by the way, your lead generation model in that book will also talk about your sphere of influence, the people you know. They are a part of your lead generating model. So it's not like just lead generating for people that you don't know. It'll be primarily, it's about building out your 8x8. And in the book, they call it a 33 touch system. But nowadays they're saying as many touches as possible. So yes, that is a great 16 pages of book to read. And then going into command, entering your people into command, and then starting to put them on smart plans, which are already made for you in command. That is the #1 thing to do. In addition to starting to make phone calls, there'll be no other system that you could implement more important than that, Randy.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Hey, Josh, I just wanted to share an aha. This is Beth Manning. I realized when you have talked about going into the KW Connect,
Yep.
I realize I really haven't been utilizing that like at all. I'm looking for what is being taught in other avenues, but not that one. And I'm like, duh, like, so thank you just for bringing that up and sharing. You shared about 4 or 5 really important things in there. So anyways, just thanks. That was total aha for me.
Right on, Beth. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, you guys, seriously, if there's anything you can do to add to your morning routine, even just spending 15 minutes on KW Connect is a game changer. It's the richest resource that you have available to you in real estate. Either every single aspect of real estate is covered there. And when you're in there, my recommendation is that you focus on two things. One, how to get your, there's a whole series of videos on KW Command in there. Number two, I recommend that you spend the majority of your time on the pivot shift ahead part of KW Connect.
Can you repeat number one? You totally broke up and I think we're on the edge of our seat.
Right on. Yeah, the number one is the video series on using KW Command.
Okay.
So for those of you guys who aren't using it, you know, like my team, it's hard for us to use it. And so I've committed to putting my sphere of influence in it and learning how to use it on my own. But for you guys, it is an absolute must use. Get caught up. It will be changing the way that you do real estate for the rest of your life. It will constantly be developed. It will constantly be in the forefront of your ability to do business. You are the tech enabled agent. So spending time and learning how to use it's going to be super important. So even 15 minutes a day of that is going to take you places.
Yeah, Josh, I just want to say thank you. I've got a whole page of notes and I basically just cross sleep off of my schedule for the next 2 nights because I know my mind's just going to be going. But yeah, I really appreciate it. There's been a lot in here that's been super, super helpful. I feel like for all of us, whether we've been in the business for 5 years or we're just starting, you know, I think for everybody, we've gotten something out of the call for sure.
Yeah, thanks for saying it. I appreciate it. Again, I'm going to just a minute to the front desk and they'll probably include it on the 3 o'clock email or whatever it is. Look for that. Those attachments that are in there, the videos that are in there, take some time, schedule yourself some time to watch those videos and then start taking action. I promise you, if you simply do this one thing with religion, it will, everything that you could possibly ever want in your personal life or your business life will begin to come true. It just takes execution over time. That's all.
Thanks so much, Josh. You're the best.
You're welcome, Rachel.
Thanks, Josh. I heard at another thing I went to last week, there is freedom and structure. And so I think that's true. And this is that structure, I think. Also, you keep mentioning podcasts here and there. Any chance you could throw in a couple of podcast recommendations when you send out that email?
Sure. I'll put in a couple in there for you. You bet. All right. All right. Well, good investment of your time. Thanks for being here for me and putting up with my slow internet issues. It's on dial-up, so I'm surprised it even worked this well.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
You bet. See you guys.